Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tuesday's Wrestling Talk. And this is Pro Wrestling Inside and Out Live. Brett West, along with Rodney West, will be talking about Andre the Giant, the early years, Rodney. Very interesting career that Andre the Giant had at the beginning.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I got a chance, I think, to see one of his first matches earlier today. He was amazing. Absolutely amazing. And it seemed like he was already big, but at age 16, that growth just kept going. And by the time he was 18 or so, he was 7 foot, over 7 foot, and still growing.
Well, it's going to be very interesting. We're going to be talking about Andre the Giant, his early years. We'll talk until about 1973, December of 1973, and we'll just look through just a brief bit of his career, because most of the names that he's wrestling against are part of. They're all French names, very hard for the Southern folks that we are to pronounce most of them.
Absolutely. You're right about that.
So, Rodney, let's go ahead and get started, and I'll try to throw some pictures up while you're talking about about Andre the Giant, his beginnings.
Well, at 18, Andre moves to Paris, and he was top professional wrestler by a local promoter, Albert Legant. Again, torturing the poor names. I'm sorry about that. Who recognized the early potential of Andre's size. Of course, he was Rosimov. He trained at night and worked as a mover during the day and paid for his living expenses. Andre was billed as Giant Ferret, named based on a Picardian folk hero Grand Ferret. And began wrestling in Paris and nearby areas. Canadian promoter and wrestler Frank Valois, again, I've tortured the names, met with Andre. Of course, at that time he wasn't Andre, he was Giant Ferret. In 1966, years later, he will become his manager and advisor. Later, he will begin making a name for himself in the United Kingdom, Germany, Australia, New Zealand, and Africa. He made his Japanese debut in 1970 and billed as Monster Rosimov, wrestling for the International Wrestling Enterprise, wrestling as both a single and tag team competitor. He quickly made a name, made the company's tag team champion alongside of Michael Nador. During this time in Japan, doctors informed him that he was suffering from acromegaly. It's a rare condition which results from excessive production of growth hormone by the pituitary glands.
Look at this picture right here.
Yeah. Now he was probably in this, probably 20, I would say.
I think so. We just seen a picture of him standing with a young kid, and look at that! Look at that look on that kid's face, looking up at not Andre the Giant yet, but he's probably Giant Fiera at this point. And here he is when he was working chopping wood and working on
this. This is the promotional video. This is the picture from the promotional video where this guy is a reporter going out and he's seeing it, and he's the Grand Fier was the Ferry, I think was his name, was like I said, a folklore hero. He was a lumberjack, so they were tapping into that. And Andre was humongous and strong, and so it was very convincing that he was able to be a lumberjack. And that's where this comes from. It's a video that's getting ready for him to appear as a professional wrestler, because in that interview, he says, he said, "Are you a lumberjack?" He said, "Well, I'm a lumberjack, but I want to be a professional wrestler." And so that's what's this video. Super.
All right, Rodney, go ahead. Let's look at some of his matches that he had in 1971.
1971, in April 27th, he was in, I'm going to say Aichi, at the Perpetual Gymnasium. I'm torturing these names. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Karl Gotch defeated the Monster Rosimov 28 minutes, 33 seconds in a 2 out of 3 fall match. Then he went on the May the 9th, 1971. And like I said, he's another place in Japan. Like I said, I'm just tortured. I'm just butchering these names. It was Billy Robinson, and he was against him, and it ended without a winner as the time limit draw was 30 minutes. It was part of the World Series. Next, he moves to Montreal, Canada, 1971, where he became an immediate success, regularly selling out the Montreal Forum. However, promoters eventually ran out of plausible opponents for him. And as a novelty, and as the novelty of his size wore off, the gates receipts dwindled. Then he goes to GPW at the Verdum. This is in June 29th of 1971. He's at the Auditorium in Montreal, Quebec, and he's teaming with Edouard Carpentier. Like I said, I think I got that one right. And he's with Andre the Giant against Mad Dog and Butcher Vachon, and the winners are unknown in that. Later, he would wrestle against Adnan Al-Kaisi in Baghdad in 1971, and of course he defeated him at that one. He wrestled numerous times in 1971 for Vern Gagne's American Wrestling Association as a special attraction.
And do you know that Agna Casey, he was the promoter over there?
Is that right?
Yeah, wow. He was the actual promoter. He promoted wrestling over in Baghdad during the reign of whoever was here then. But while we had whatever his name is, now I can't remember his name, but yeah, he was there during that time as well, and he promoted wrestling over there several times.
All right, so now we're at the AWA in Minneapolis. This is on July the 24th, 1971. He's at the Auditorium in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Bull Belinsky and Jean Vier, he's still wrestling under the name John Fier, defeated Larry Henning and Lars Anderson. And then at the show in Toronto, it's coming up. It's on the October the 31st, 1971, Maple Leaf Gardens. Jean Fier defeated Tim Brooks. We're going to see some other ones. And then we got another one on July. Here's one everybody will know. On December the 15th, 1971, back at the Forum in Montreal, it is Andre against Ivan Koloff. The winner is unknown. And then he goes to the WWA in Detroit. And now they've changed. It looks like they've changed his name to the Polish Giant. He's there January the 8th, 1972 in Detroit. He goes against Johnny Case. Then he goes back to the AWA in Duluth, and he's going to be there on January the 14th, 1972 at the Duluth Arena Auditorium. Bull Belinsky, and I guess he hasn't been Andre the Giant yet. He's still I think the Ferry. And he defeated Nick Bockwinkel and Ray Stevens in a 2 out of 3 fall match.
And here's a picture of Bull. What did you say? Bull Belinsky.
Bull Belinsky.
And I remember, I cannot remember the guys that's doing the commentary, the announcer there. I cannot remember his name.
He's almost as tall. Look, he's only looks like a few inches from the top of the set there. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I've seen that. And we've got some other pictures photographs that we're going to go back and show. It's hard to figure out what time frames they are, so we'll just go back and look at some photographs when we get through going through the matches.
All right, now he goes to Detroit. He's back with the WWA in Detroit on January the 22nd, 1972. Baron von Raschke, the WWA World Heavyweight Champion, he defeats Andre in that match. Then we got going to go to Quebec City in Quebec on January the 23rd of 1972. Eduardo Carpentier. Again, I've just tortured that. I'm sorry. And Andre and Johnny War Eagle defeated Dale Roberts, Jerry Brown, and Blackjack Mulligan. I heard matches between Blackjack Mulligan and Andre was something to behold. Andre in some of those matches were doing a flying head scissors, and it was awesome. Dad said he said that was the first time he'd ever seen Andre do a flying head scissors, but he sure did. And that okay. Then we come up June 28th, 1972, back at the Forum in Montreal. It would be Andre and Robert Jr. defeating Don Leo Jonathan and Blackjack Mulligan. And then he heads to Milwaukee at the Milwaukee Arena on July the 8th, 1972. It's Bull Belinsky and Andre against defeating Larry Hennig and Dusty Rhodes in a 2 out of 3 fall match. I would have loved to have seen that.
Yes, I would have. That would have been a good match to see. That would have been. I've never seen Bull Belinsky. I don't think I've ever seen any videos of him wrestling. But he must have been huge in the American Wrestling Association. He must have been a big star because he is big time, and he's in the main events with Andre, which on all kinds of cards. Because we're just picking up just bits and pieces of these cards.
Right. And so, and he must switch names periodically as well. So back with the AWA back in Milwaukee at the auditorium, he's going to be, that's in July the 29th. Nick Bockwinkel and Ray Stevens, the champions, defeated Bull Belinsky and Andre. That was for the AWA World Tag Team Championship. Frank Valois, I'm again torturing the names, appealed to Vince McMahon Sr., founder of the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, for advice. McMahon suggested several changes. He felt Rosenmoff should be portrayed as a large, immovable monster to enhance the perception of his size. McMahon discouraged Romanoff from perverting maneuvers such as drop kicks, although he was capable of doing it. And when I saw that match earlier, he was very capable of doing them. Of course, we talked about it with wrestling against Blackjack Mulligan as well. And he said he discouraged against doing the high fly and stuff because he wanted to be a monster pretty much. And so, of course, later on, the maneuvers would be detrimental because he was unable to do it because of his condition, preventing him to do those kind of moves anymore. Later, he would also build. He also began with Vince McMahon would also start building him as Andre the Giant and set up a travel intense schedule, leading him to wrestling associations around the world, which that's how we become to know him, to keep him from becoming overexposed in any area. Promoters had to guarantee Andre a certain amount of money as well as pay McMahon's WWF booking fee. And so that is the beginning. And so Vince McMahon Sr. Really molded Andre into the star that we know of today, or we remember today. So now we come up on, we're up here, we're going to be White Plains, New York, on October the 24th, 1972 at the Westchester County Center. And it's going to be Pedro Morales and Andre the Giant against Mr. Fuji and Professor Toru Tanaka, winner unknown there. And then he returns back to Quebec City. That's on December the 3rd of 1972. It was his old good friend, Edouard Carpentier. Again, I'm torturing that name. And Andre defeating Blackjack Mulligan and Blackjack Lanza. It ended up without a winner, I should say. Carpentier was very instrumental in Andre's career as well. He knew him from Europe and in France, and he actually was the one that brought Andre over to Canada. So that's the reason he's very important to the career of Andre. So now we come up on December the 28th, 1972, AWA Burlington at Memorial Auditorium, and that's Burlington, Iowa. Andre the Giant defeated Dick Murdoch by disqualification. That's another good one.
That's another good one. I would love to have been. I'd love to have been there to watch that match.
Yeah. Then they come up on it's March the 24th, 1973 in Philadelphia at the Philadelphia Arena. It's Andre the Giant defeating his old partner, Frank Valois and Bull Belinsky. And that was a two.
Remember, Frank was his handler. Frank would go from town to town with him. He was the driver. He took care of all of Andre's needs. So anything that Andre needed, took care of his travel and everything. So.
Now, is that the gentleman that Ernie Ladd slapped on Atlanta TV?
Yes, I believe that is the gentleman Ernie Ladd slapped.
All right, that's what I was thinking he was. All right, then he comes up to Madison Square Garden in New York City on April the 30th of 1973, and it was Andre defeating Professor Toru Tanaka. And then he goes to Bangor, Maine, Bangor Auditorium and Civic Center, and that's going to be on May the 16th, 1973. It's Chief Jay Strongbow and Andre the Giant versus Mr. Fuji and Toru Tanaka, and the winner was unknown. And then we come up to the Festival Arena And New Brunswick, Canada, is Andre the Giant versus Bull Gregory and Sailor White. And the winner is unknown. It's a handicap match in that one. Then he goes to the London Arena in London, Ontario, Canada. That's going to be on June the 6th, 1973. And it's Andre and Paprino Fapiro. Was going against the Sheik and Don Kent. The winner is unknown there. I am torturing these names tonight. I'm sorry, ladies and
gentlemen. When I was reading through this today, I thought, man, this is going to be difficult to get through.
Yeah, we got some good names here, and here we go. Here's going to be a good one. It's coming up to St. Paul Civic Center in St. Paul, Minnesota, and it's on September the 15th, 1973. Billy Graham defeated Andre the Giant. I would sure that's probably not by pinfall. It's probably by count or something. It's probably not by pinfall. And then on October the 19th, 1973, Albany, the New Scotland Armory in Albany, New York, Andre the Giant and Chief Dream Strongball defeated Stan Stasiak and Blackjack Lanza. And then we come up on October the 26th, 1973, the Zimbo Mosque in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. It's Andre the Giant and Chief J. Strongbow defeating Blackjack Lanza and Mike McCord. 2 out of 3 fall match. And of course, Mike McCord becomes Austin Idol. So we got so we're coming up. We're going to be in North Attleboro. That's going to be on November the 30th, 1973 at the Sports Arena. It was Andre the Giant and another great one. I haven't seen him in a while. I like to see some stuff on him. Dean Ho and Andre the Giant defeating Turo Tanaka and Mr. Fuji. And then Andre makes his way to the great state of Texas.
First time.
That's right.
First time he is in Texas.
He's coming to Fort Worth. He's going to be, that's on December the 10th, 1973. It's Andre the Giant, Jose Lothario, and Matt Gibson defeating Black Gordman, the Great Goliath, and Dale Lewis. And then it comes up, it comes to San Antonio at the Municipal Auditorium, and that's on December the 12th, 1973. Listen to this one. Andre the Giant defeats Ivan Putski. Oh, fantastic. And then we ended up on December the 30th of 1973. We're at the Maple Leafs Gardens in Toronto, Canada. It's Andre the Giant against the Sheik. Ended without a winner as his double disqualification match lasted 2 minutes, 58 seconds. Andre against the Sheik.
Well, let's go through. Before we talk to the insiders, send your comments, your questions about Andre the Giant. We just got through just that. We just wanted to do briefly because he really starts traveling the world in 1974. So he goes to Atlanta. He ends up in Memphis. He's going all over the world in 1974. So there's a lot to talk about starting in 1974. He actually goes to the Omni in Atlanta for the first time in 1974. So it's going to be interesting. Let's go back and look at the pictures, and because I got lost on the where I had the pictures, but we seen this when Rodney explained that at the beginning. This is
it's like his intro video of him starting to wrestle, and this is when they make him out to be the lumberjack Fareed.
And this is the picture we showed.
Yeah, I love that picture.
That picture is magnificent.
That says it all.
Yeah, and then here's a picture of him. I'm guessing he's around 20 years old.
20 years old, right there. Yeah.
Here he is in 1971. This is the Wrestler magazine. He is the Rookie of the Year, and the story tells. I don't know that I can read that story. I don't know that I can see what it says. But can you read that?
It says a number of sensational new covers exploded on the wrestling scene in 1971, but none arrived with the impact of the 7'4" tall French giant Jean Fier. I think that's our fairy. Perhaps the greatest French grappler since Eduardo Carpenter. I am torturing these names today. Fareed. And in fact, a protege of him, and has been wiping up the mat in Eastern Canada. Fareed, okay, here we go. Pronounced, and I think that shows it, Fair Ray. I believe that's what that says, right? Fair Ray. if I'd have read this earlier, I'd have known. Weighs 390 pounds and has the strength of a Superman. But unlike most ring giants who rally only on their strength, what makes Jean unique is his quickness. His moves in Jean's first match after coming to Montreal from France, he was teamed with against Jerry Brown and Fernand. I'm telling you, we've got it tonight. I'm going to have to. I'm gonna have to learn my French.
You know what we're gonna have to do? We're gonna have to bring actually Jacques Rougeau. We're gonna have to see if we bring Jacques Rougeau on with us.
Yeah, that would be helpful. And it comes on down in it looks like he talks about him during the second fall. It talks about the match figured, and then that's ends. Of course, it goes to another page apparently.
Look how he's styling and profiling in that picture with. Edward Carpionnet and Yvonne Robert Jr. is actually in that picture with him, and then he's with 4 women there, and he shows how tall he really is. This photograph was his first appearance in Japan.
I like it. I like the robe. I love the robe.
Here's a photograph of him against Carl Gotch in Japan. I'm not for certain this is his first time, though, that he wrestled against him. This could be in a couple of years later, because it does look like Andre's a little bit more filled out than he was in that one. But I believe this is from his first time in Japan. I know Carl Gotch. Is that Billy Robertson on the other side of him, Rodney?
I believe so.
So that was, and here he is speaking to Carl Gotch. Andre is going over something with Mr. Gotch. And here Andre the Giant is picking up an automobile. And I think this would have been probably 1971, wouldn't you think, in the 71, 72 range. Here he is. I think this would have been an earlier picture as well. Look at him with a young man styling and profiling as well. But look how high he is. He's all the way to the top of the building, to the top of that thing that's telling where the seats are, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, that would be telling you where the seats are. Here he is right here, the not so jolly French giant who strikes like lightning. And this would have probably been around 1971 as well. Just great pictures. Great photographs of Andre the Giant in his early years. Here's a couple of more. The Giant, Gene, and what did we say today? What was it again? Ferret,
yeah.
Look at him there. And he's not Andre the Giant yet in these pictures. Here's a newspaper ad. Grand Prix Wrestling every Wednesday, 9 p.m.
That's Grand Prix. Thank you. I know that one.
Oh, did I say? What did I say?
Yeah, you don't want to say that again. Right. Grand Prix. It's clear we're from Tennessee. I can tell you that much right now. Here we go. Match of the century. Don Leo Jonathan. And against Andre. We'll let you figure that one out there. 7'4", 427 pounds.
Look at that. Black Eagle against Sweet Daddy Sika. Sweet Daddy Sika on that card. Emily
9 o'clock. Show started at 9 o'clock. Admission adults $2 and children $1. That's something else.
Here's a picture. You know, this is his earlier matches as well. This could have been at probably close to one of his first matches that he had.
He looks like what he did in that match I watched earlier this afternoon. That was a tremendous match. It was against Franz Van Buyten, and it was a really decent match. Andre ended up beating him with the body slam and actually won the championship. It was in French. I didn't understand a word of it.
Well, we're from Tennessee. We apologize for all the bad
for the torturing of the names. Yes, it was not good.
Here he is right here, Andre the Giant. Now I don't know what was going on in this picture because all the women
are showers. He must have snuck into the showers there.
That's what I'm thinking. All them women are in towels. So I don't know what was going on in this photograph, but it's a good photograph of Andre. Here is Andre right here, and he is with Brute Bernard.
Hey, Brute Bernard.
Great picture of them. But look at Andre next to Brute Bernard. Brute Bernard was a small
big man. Yeah, he was small.
Yeah. All right, here's a Grand Prix, right? Grand Prix.
That's Grand Prix.
That's what I called it.
No.
Well, you can look at this. You got Killer Kowalski.
Hey, there's Joe LeDuc. He's Paul LeDuc in that one. Blackjack Lanza, War Eagle. Let's see, a Blackjack Mulligan. Well, no, let's see. We got Paul LeDuc. So there's two different LeDucs. There's a Paul LeDuc and a Joe LeDuc. Okay.
Yeah, they were the Lumberjacks. They were a tag team back in the early 70s.
Okay, then.
But a good Paul Vachon on that as well against Lynn Shelley. Great. I'm pretty sure that was a sold out. That was a sold out card. Here's another one. Wrestling, the Memorial Auditorium, Burlington, Vermont, Thursday, October 28th, 8:30 p.m. The main event. Maurice Vachon and Paul Vachon against War Eagle and Billy Two Rivers. Plus, there he is, Giant Gene Ferry, or however you say that name, folks, against Cowboy Kirk. I wonder
if this he's standing beside him here. He really is towering over him. If that's him,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Well,
oh, that's 245 pounds.
I guess that was showing the difference of sizes, but I think that's the little person in that picture. But I could be wrong about that. Blackjack Mulligan on this card, as well as we see. Good show right there, and I'm thinking. I wonder if would that have been WWF card or
Vermont? Sure.
Here we are again, Grand Prix Wrestling. As we see, we'll let you because a lot of these names. Hey, there's the Hollywood Blondes.
Hey, we know that one. We got that one.
I'm thinking Dale Roberts must have been Jerry Roberts. Or was there was some other Hollywood Blondes that wasn't
Buddy Roberts and Jerry Roberts. Jerry Brown was the original one.
I'd say Dale Roberts is Buddy
Dale
Roberts.
Buddy Roberts, yeah.
So there's your back in 1971, 72. Here's a picture.
Oh boy.
Look at the two giants there.
And Andre with no boots.
And that's Don
Leo Jonathan. Yeah.
Don Leo Jonathan, face to face, and that's in Japan. I can just imagine what the people thought about that. Here's another photograph, which would have been maybe not the same time. It could have been the same time, but I'd say it was a couple of years later of them wrestling each other again. Here's a photograph of Andre. He's with Baron von Raschke. There is Don Leon Jonathan as well, and I'm not for sure about the guy on the other side of them, the other side of Andre. I'm not for sure who that is, but here he is.
Yeah, he's got the Baron by the head. It looks.
Got the Baron. He's got him working on him. Here's another photograph. He's with that Bull.
Lewinsky?
I don't know if that's Bull Lewinsky or not. It does not look like, because that's Bull Lewinsky. Is that the same guy?
I believe it was. Yeah.
I believe it might have been too. And I think with the guy that was instrumental in bringing Andre over to Canada and then to the United States. We butchered his name enough, but you.
That's right.
Here is them looking at the magazines together with a great picture of Andre. Here he is on the front of the wrestling magazine. It was called the Wrestling Monthly, and there you see he was I'm pretty sure I'm reading that right. They call me
Sewer Eiffel Tower.
I see that.
I think I got that one right that time.
Yeah. Vern Gagne wrestles Hubert Humphrey. I believe he was another big man, wasn't he? That wrestled. But we see Baron Michael Clooney and King Curtis managed by Lou Albano on that deal, and also Danny Little Bear and Louisiana State champion Don Duffy. I think this is 1972. I think this is a program from 1972. Here's another one. And this is when he's wrestling for the Worldwide Wrestling Federation. Pedro Morales against Stan the Man Stasiak. Jonathan against Strongbow. Andre the Giant against Blackjack Lanza. Victor Rivera against Mike McCord. And this is what they said. Pedro Morales overcame some early punishment and polished off Stan Stasiak in 10:23 in the return bout last night before a record 22,102 fans in the Garden. And the ladies, featuring Vicky Williams and Joyce Grable, defeated Donna and Christy and
and Tony Rose in a 2 out of 3 fall match.
Stasiak, 295 pounds, started off fast, but Morales came on after the first 5-minute mark and put Stasiak away with a black felt pin. The quick finish was in, they call it the finish. The quick finish was in sharp contrast to the first meeting 7 weeks ago when Morales earned the decision after 53 minutes of action stopped by the 11 o'clock curfew. And I would read the rest of that. I'd see Ron Fuller was on that card.
Wow.
He was on that card. Toro Tanaka, Dean Ho, a lot of great people on that card. So that was a packed card. Ron Fuller on the card as well. Here we are again. This was interesting to me. Wednesday, November 14th. But look what it says. Look what it says at top up there. A dark match.
Right. Yeah, because the rest of them is TV bouts. Plus 15 TV bouts featuring Mr. Fuji, Victor Rivera, Toro Tanaka, Tony Gurria, Don Leo Jonathan, Mike McCord, Dean Ho, Larry Heening. They forgot a dot, but it's right there. El Olympico, Chief J Strongbow, and others. And tickets were $3 and $2.
Great little card there. Here's another one. Jack Welch's presents. I'm gonna tell you what. Now, don't get us for name problems on this.
we got more than name problems, I think, tonight. Providence Civic Center return steel cage match. Wow. Yes, what was that? We had special referee was Haystack Calhoun, Furious Fred Blassie, the Pacific Coast champion against Chief J Strongbow. Wow.
And
Blassie's everywhere. Furious. He was furious, Fred Blassie there.
Here we see Gorilla Monsoon. So this was the Worldwide Wrestling Federation. That was just the local promoter in the Providence Civic Center. Another card, as we see, Professor Tanaka and Mr. Fuji against Andre the Giant and Chief J Strongbow, Freddie Blassie, Moondog Main, Mike McCord, Tony Gurria, Manuel Soto, which was Roberto Soto's brother, I believe, and El Olympico. Another great card for wrestling back there. Here's another one from the Hamburg, Pennsylvania. The Whoop Band against Andre the Giant. Look at those other guys on the card.
Waldo Von Erich, Cowboy Bob Duncan, Spiros Aaron, Blackjack Mulligan, Victor Rivera, Blackjack Lanza, Dominic Danici, Chief J Strongbow, Manuel Soto, 4 outstanding, and then Tony Gurria Valance, the Valiant Brothers, Butcher Fashawn. What a card. What a card. There we go. We're going to be in Trenton. Wow, at the Civic Center. I guess that's Trenton, New Jersey. Mr. Fuji and Pedro Morales. And then Toro Tanaka against Andre the Giant. Tony Alamore against Chief J Strongbow. Mike McCord, Tony Gurria. Pancho Valdez, Manuel Soto. Frank Valus against Dino. Joe Torco against El Olympico. And Vicente Pamente against Jose Gonzalez.
I'm telling you, we're probably getting F's for the.
Yeah, our pronunciation is down the tubes tonight, no doubt about that. Portland, Maine Expo building in October the 30th as Mr. Fuji and Professor Tanaka against Chief J Strongbow and Andre the Giant. Stan the Man, Stasiak, Tony Gurria, Mike McCord. Yeah, big card.
And all these photographs, every photograph that you've seen on this episode, all before 1974. So much to come. 1974 and on. Incredible things is going to take place for Andre the Giant started in 1970. All right, Rodney, you ready to talk to the insiders?
Yeah, they might do a better job than pronouncing these names than we did. I can tell you right now.
Well, we tried. We wanted to get it. When I first thought about it, I said, man, there's a lot of names I cannot. There's no way we can pronounce these, but I wanted to at least give the people a kind of an idea of where he started. So when we get to 1974, and most people are probably going to see him at this point from 1974 on, are the insiders that watch our live streams and stuff. They're going to know more about that. So let's go, Richard Hood. How you doing, Richard?
Hey, Richard.
Glad you're on. Dr. Phil Bo Grice. Good evening, professors. I'm ready to learn. Great show last night. Thank you so much for that. James William Lawrence III. Hello, gentlemen. Hey, Michael Barr. Hello. And well, you probably didn't miss much. We was destroying.
We're butchering names here tonight.
Larry B. Bob Hathcock. Hey, Brett and Rodney. Where's Uncle Jack today? He has took the day off for some rest and relaxation, and he'll be back for Thursday night as we give an old school perspective. An old school perspective. It's not always nice, so it doesn't always come.
We mean it in the nicest possible way, though.
Yes, yes. Well, now there's Kevin. He said hello. I think he's making fun.
Well, he's making fun of us. Yeah, that's all right.
Kevin Bentley said, once Andre parked beside us in the Boutwell Auditorium parking deck, got out behind me. I said, no, Andre laughed. Rick Brooks said, watching as always from Foulmouth, Kentucky. He said he and Frank walked with us to the elevators. He was big. Andre the Giant was a huge man. If you never got to see him live, me and Rodney had the opportunity to see him live so many times. I don't even know how many times we saw him live, but every time it was great. With Chattanooga, we saw him live. Atlanta, Alabama, everywhere we went, we got to see him live, and I'm glad we did. Michael Barr, why is it when he and other wrestlers tag team back in the day, was there a tag team rope tied around the turnbuckle of each tag team? I don't know if they did that in the South.
No, they did it primarily for Vince did it on his shows for sure. They had tag ropes.
Kevin said Agnon was Billy White Wolf before he was dead. Yes, he was. We've got some photographs of him on our Facebook page. Richard Hood said Andre was the biggest man I'd ever seen in person because he had the mass and height. In my opinion, he is a real giant.
Yeah.
Theodore with us, Rodney.
Hey, Mr. Turbo
Ted. Seaboard System, greetings from Jasper, Georgia. I once saw Harley race Sam Andre at the Cobb County Civic Center years before WrestleMania 3.
Yeah.
Good matches. Harley Race and Andre the Giant had great matches. Michael Barr said, Rodney, so sorry you've destroyed the names.
Hey, I recognize it.
Kevin Barkwell said, rumor has it Andre could outdrink anyone in either locker room. Loved Andre and was always excited as a kid when he made appearances on Georgia Championship Wrestling.
Always a special night when Andre was in town. He made what was a great card an extraordinary card when he was on.
Kevin said he knows French.
Yes, that is correct. Oui, my friend. Yes. Rick
Brooks said, saw Andre in person on several occasions in the arena where I saw most of my professional wrestling in Cincinnati Gardens.
We did do the kind of like the Inspector Clouseau, didn't we?
Yeah, there's no doubt. Now part two of Andre the Giant won't be as bad. We don't know.
We'll have so much. Yeah, maybe we learn how to pronounce them by the time we do the next one, huh?
Michael Alton said, "Cheers to all." Let's see. Andre did a good job playing Bigfoot on $6 Million Man TV series. Yes, he did.
I saw something about that. Andre was the only person they had in mind to play Bigfoot. That was the only that no one else they had in mind to play. I think somebody else played him later, but when they originally did Bigfoot for $6 Million Man, he was the only one they had in mind to do
They talk about there's a lot of things online. They talk about him doing The Princess Bride, but what they don't talk about, he did several appearances on BJ and the Bear. Many ones on BJ and the Bear. If you go back and watch that, he is on there. Terry at Listograph said, "Good evening, Brett and Rodney." Good evening, Terry. Hope good to see you on here with us. Michelle, good old Rocky Top, Tennessee.
Yes. That's
We're certainly not Frenchmen, and
no.
we'll probably get an F for this television program for
pronunciation for sure.
We're probably not going to. We're probably not going to get that. Chris Vick said we need old school back. Yeah, I agree with that. All old school. We love old school wrestling. Larry Brock, how you doing, sir? Sorry you came on as we were destroying all the French names that Andre started with years ago. But, we need to tell the story. So at least people know where we're going to get to in part 2. Dr. Phil Bogras said, I heard Jake the Sniper Roberts tell about Andre to his hotel after a show, and he wanted Jake to stop the store for beer. He drank an entire case of beer before they reached the hotel and wasn't drunk. I'd say it took a lot to get Andre drunk.
I heard that too. Yeah, I've heard that. It takes a lot to get drunk.
So I would say, a couple of cases might not even get him, wouldn't have got him drunk. I had the privilege of wrestling in the Hamburg Fieldhouse. You could feel the history inside that building. And I love those old wrestling buildings. All the old buildings. They're just great to go to. The Memorial Auditorium in Chattanooga, what a history that had. They just destroyed it when they made it where nothing could go in there except planes. Michael said Andre did wrestle in Wilmington, Delaware in a school gym. That evening, he worked Sergeant Slaughter. What an experience. Michael, Rodney and Brent are from Tennessee and closer to that. I am from Alabama. You should be able to pronounce these names. I'm further south. But that was, we wanted to come on there and we wanted to talk about Andre the Giant. We wanted to talk about the part 1, because you have to get through when he started and through a lot of the names we don't know because we wasn't there. We wasn't in those areas, but we tried our best to let you know about where Andre the Giant started and where he's going to start part 2. He's going to start traveling the territories.
He's going to become the biggest superstar in wrestling history, I think. Everybody knows Andre the Giant. Hey, Charles Alfred, we welcome. Thank you very much for coming.
Well, Rodney, is there anything else we need to? There's no names we can destroy, I don't think.
No, we butchered enough names tonight. We're going to be coming up. I found a video. I've seen it several times of Andre at the Memorial Auditorium in Chattanooga. It's Big Bad John. Harry Thornton is doing the commentary. We'll be able to cover that next time too. It is awesome, and Harry did a fantastic job. It was something to behold.
Well, it's getting to where we were around for some of this stuff. I say next time we're probably 1974 to maybe 1976, and there's a lot to talk about. And most people that are the insiders on our program, they're going to know exactly what we're talking about because he's on his way to their
Daniel, you're exactly right. Vince McMahon Sr. had Andre's contract, and he booked Andre throughout the whole world. Vince McMahon Sr. did, and he wanted to make sure that he kept Andre traveling because then he wouldn't become stale and just by staying in one place.
All right, Rodney, is there anything else we need to talk about?
I can't wait till we get to the Andre the Giant part 2. I'm ready. Let's go.
I have to, but like I said, you had to get past the start because now it's going to be fun. The part 2 is going to be fun. There's going to be a lot to talk about. Before we leave, I want everyone to know that if you are watching on Facebook, like and share our page. We are almost this close to 10,000 followers, and thank you for sharing our page, telling people about the page, because we have grown pretty fast in the last probably 2 months, and we certainly do appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and we want to know that you like what we're doing. Rodney?
And if you should have anybody that knows French, you can send your information over. We need a translator.
And for those of you who would like to buy some merchandise, you can go to facebook.com/Pro Wrestling Inside and Out, hit the shop button, and you can go buy anything and support the channel. A lot of things coming up. YouTube, a lot of things. 2021 is going to be interesting. A lot of things coming up in 2021. So if you've not subscribed to YouTube, subscribe to it, because there's going to be some stuff that's just going to be special just for the YouTube channel. Rodney?
Michael Barr wants to know how you say thumbs in French.
I don't know. I have no clue. All right, guys, we want to thank you so much for being a part of the show. We hope you learned just a little bit of Andre the Giant and his beginnings, where he got started. And I tell you what, we have a lot more to go. Thursday, join us live right here again. And until then.
Oh, and Friday, Mid-South Wrestling on Friday night.
Friday, Mid-South Wrestling Review. Some good stuff coming up. All right. On behalf of Rodney West, I'm Brent West, and thank you so much for being a part of Pro Wrestling Inside and Out, Tuesday's Wrestling Talk.